Hey, what is going on? Welcome to this sync music tutorial. My name is Jason Dowdy. What's going on, Brian Ward? I see you in the house. What is happening? So today we're going to go over. Normally we would do the sync producer spotlight tonight. If you don't know what the sync producer spotlight is, that is where we showcase somebody from the Sync Producer Hub, which is a community started by Anthony Clint Jr., where we all learn how to get our music into TV and film. It's a program. It has all of the courses, the support, the community. He has live listening sessions every Friday and Q&A sessions, everything that you need. If you're a music producer, music creator, and you want to get your stuff into TV and film, that is the place to go. And if you're interested, the link is in the description. What's up, Zimzada? Hey, Aaron, how's it going? What's going on, Allison? Let us know what you are eating this evening for dinner, as is the tradition. All right. Hey, what's up, Ray? What's up, produced by Janie HB? All right, awesome. Well, I'm glad that we got so many in the house. That's great. Before we get started, before I start kind of diving in and getting into the nitty gritty and the nuts and bolts of creating minimal underscore music, so that's what we're gonna really concentrate on today. Is that minimal like tension music that you hear so much in TV shows. So if you start really start paying attention when you're watching TV from now on, because you're gonna notice like every other cue is basically this just underlying minimal, very few instruments, like this little tension music just to, set the mood. But the dialogue really needs to be heard clearly. So it's just kind of out of the way, but it's still causing that feeling of, oh my goodness, something big's going to happen, right? Um, Let me share my screen real quick. So I kind of want to talk about the value of this music and how much in demand it is. So let me share my screen. I'm going to show my ASCAP real quick. So this is, for those of you who are part of a pro, some of you may be part of ASCAP. Here are all of my placements. So there's 138, 21 episodes of Dateline NBC. These right here inside the Owlsboro and Climb, those are more, those were done from a sports album that I did. But all of the rest of these, Saturday Night Live, that was literally just a piano stem from a tension cue. Top Chef International, all of these 57 placements is from 2 tracks, and they're tension tracks. They're a little more cinematic, but it's the same idea. This one is a minimal tension track. Friday the 13th Murders, minimal tension track. Barbecue, Brawl, minimal tension track. You get the idea. Even this sports one right here, this SEC football was a minimal tension track. So most of my placements are from this type of music, and it's not that difficult to do. You don't need to have like a big skill set to do it or anything like that. You can be even a beginning producer and you could probably make some decent minimal tension tracks, and it's high in demand. So hold on, let me stop sharing my screen real quick. All right. Oh, Allison, we're finding out what her dinner is. All right. So she's finishing a Marie Calendar chicken fried chicken dinner. Oh, okay. All right. So she's kind of eating out of a box tonight. I know we've all done that before. All right. What's up, Terrence? All right. Cool. Yeah, most of these are minimal tension. And like last year, I was able to create about 100 tracks that ended up in music libraries, and a good probably 85 of those were these types of tracks, and they're the ones getting placed the most. All right, cool. So let me share my screen again. So we're gonna go through. I created a guide. The link to this guide is in the description, and we're just going to follow along, and then I'll show you the track that I created. So chord progressions. So it all starts with that, and you want to start with an A and B section. So make sure you have 2 distinct sections at least. You could have 3. Um, you could have one. You could. I've heard minimal tension tracks that are just literally 1 or 2 chords. So it's not even about the chord progressions necessarily. It's that you have distinct sections, right? Like as this part sounds different than this part. Like maybe the first part is just strings and you're creating that vibe, but there's no percussion and there's nothing percussive yet. And then maybe you do a drop, and then maybe you add percussion and maybe pulsing bass or something afterwards. So there's at least two sections that are different, right? What's up, Keith? How you doing? Keith Bonet in the house. All right. Then the structure, these are possible structures. I would recommend going to sites like APM Music, Warner Chappell. I put them down here. Brand X. Brand X is a really good music library. They have like really modern and high quality stuff. But I'll link these in the guides as well. But if you go to one of these libraries, just search for tension, minimal tension, crime, underscore, those types of keywords, and you're gonna find albums that are in this vein. It's always good to start with like a good reference track, right? Something where you could either steal their formatting, right? Or you understand their sound selection. Sound selection is probably the most important thing. That's what makes your track sound like a professional track that's going to be on a TV show, versus, just anything you're pulling out of the kitchen sink and putting into a track. All right. So here are a few possible structures. So intro, you want to keep that short. We'll go through this in a minute. A section, a break. It's good to have like a one or two measures of just maybe not, maybe even silence. It could be silence, or it could be like a bass drop, or it could be just like a an impact sound, or something that gives the listener like a break from whatever was going on before and introduces a new section, right? Then an A section, a B, and then your sting ending. All right. So intro, you want to keep this short, right? You want to get into the meat of the track as soon as possible, because music supervisors are clicking through, right? I'm going to listen to this one. I'm going to listen to this one. I'm going to listen to this one. And if your intro is super long and it's taken a long time to get to the meat of the track, the hook, the chorus, whatever you want to call it, your A section, they're not going to listen forever. They're going to skip to the next track. So keep your intro short. I think the demo that I have is going to be or no, it's 2 bars. 2 bars. I've had them up to 8 bars, but something interesting was happening, right? Yeah, there's some ear candy and there was something unique. But keep that short. A section, just keep it to 8 bars. Break, like I talked about before, 1 or 2 bars gives it room to breathe. Um, and then there's going to be another A section, and this is going to be probably how your track ends. You want it to have all of the instruments, have all of the percussion, drive it to a climactic ending before you hit your sting. All right. And this is just one example of a format you could have. I think that this one actually has an A, a B with all of the instruments, and then a sting ending in the demo I'm going to show you. So these are just possible formatting that you can do. Go to APM, go to Warner Chappell, go to Brand X, or any music library of whatever you're the biggest fan of, right? Whoever's doing the best music that you like. You could also do Tune Find and things like that to look for tracks as well. All right. Cool. Let me go back to the chat and see if there's any questions so far. Hold on. Okay. All right. Awesome. Oh, yeah. And Allison says, make sure you have edit points. Yeah. Get that drop will give you edit points. What's up, Tim Bird? Tim Bird is also a master at this genre. He has a lot of stuff on like the ID channel and things like that. Um, so if I'm not able to answer a question, I'm sure he could jump in. Janelle as well from the group. I don't see her in the chat, but she has some amazing minimal tension stuff as well. All right. So going through the rest of the guide, here's a few rules. Don't overproduce. That's probably the number one rule. That's the feedback that I get from music libraries when something is rejected or they ask me to make changes. Overproducing is probably the top one. You don't need that many instruments. It doesn't need to be as complicated as you think it does. Um, and then include a pulsing bass. Almost all of these just need a pulsing bass, and if it especially and have like one section that just drives that root note. You can have all the chord changes going above it, but you're probably gonna when especially if you're just starting off with this type of music, make sure you just have like a pulsing bass. Doom, 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 doom. That's in almost all tension music if you listen closely. keep the melody simple. So if it's too busy, I always, sometimes I get this feedback from a music library. They're like, it's too whimsical. It's too busy. There's too much going on. You might get feedback like that. For this type of music, you don't have to be complicated. Just a simple piano or guitar line or something like that. A note here and there. It doesn't need to be anything too complicated or catchy. And like I mentioned before, sound selection is key. So if you're using, this too, if you're using a MIDI instrument of any kind that could be played by a live musician, meaning piano, guitar, bass, any of those types of instruments, it has to sound like a real player or as close as possible. Um, Michael Connor in the group, if you want to, get with somebody who really knows how to make instruments sound like there's a band in your living room playing, he is the master at that. What I do is I choose simple lines and certain instruments that sound pretty real, right? And I go with that. All right, cool. So let's hop into it. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick. All right, and I'm going to share a session so we can start hearing it. I'm just going to play the whole track once. I do this type of music for two music libraries. One of them wants them to be 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes. And then the other one wants it to be more like 90 seconds or maybe a little bit more. All right. Oh, wait, there's a question real quick from Zimzada. Is there a preference on a straight four? It depends on the tempo and it depends on the vibe of the song. I mean, if you know music, you'll get a feel for it. Sometimes you'll do like on the four, and then towards the end of the song, you'll bump it up to the eight to add more urgency and like tension and drive it to a climactic ending. All right, let's go. So let me share my screen. And this is a very simple track. I think I have to share my entire screen. Here we go. All right. This one. Okay, let me drag this over. All right. And here we go. Here's our session. So I'm just going to play this once. It's about 1:45. So it'll give you an idea. And if you can't hear it, let me know. All right, yeah, so that's it. It's pretty simple, right? It's nothing too complicated. It's only 19 instruments, and you can see they're not like throughout the track or anything like that. So we kept it simple. Um, I'm gonna share how I started this. So I started this by just putting a chord progression together, and I actually use Claude for this. So here, let me bring up Claude real quick. Uh, Bear with me. Here we go. And this is in the guide as well if you wanna use Claude or ChatGPT or whatever AI tool that you have. If you're just like, "I don't know where to start. I don't even know what chord progression to use," or you don't have that much music theory knowledge, I just wrote, "Could you give me some chord progression ideas? An A and B section for a crime documentary underscore track should have lots of tension, but but minimal, not big." Right? I even put "not" twice. I made a mistake in my prompt. No DJ horns. Nah, I'm not gonna give myself a DJ horn. But yeah, so it came up with this chord progression. It's in D minor. It's D major seventh, D minor, B flat major seventh with the sharp 11, A7 with the flat 9, and then for the B section, E minor 7 with a flat 5, A7 with a flat 9, and then D minor, and then C sharp diminished 7. So that's what it came up with, and it turned out pretty good. I had to make some small changes. Sometimes when you do this to generate chord progressions, it will give you ones that don't sound quite right, and then you may have to change a chord here and there. But if you don't know where to start, and especially if you don't have any music theory knowledge, like this can do it. And I use a tool called MIDI Wizard to generate the chords. So just going to go to the channel rack real quick. MIDI Wizard looks like this. As soon as it pops up, where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay. So what you can do is you set the key, right? D minor. You can put in your, I just put chords full, 8 bars, and then you push the button and it generates some chords, but you can just draw in your own chords, right? So first we started with a D minor with a major seventh. If you click into it like this, you just choose D minor and you choose major seventh, and it'll give you a chord. And you just go through and you do this for all of them. So I did that for the A section and the B section, and that's how we came up with the chord progression. And I used this piano sound, which is a free piano sound. And it sounds pretty real. It's just called soft piano. It's from Labs, Spitfire Labs, which is the one Michael Connor talks about all the time. But they've got a ton of free stuff. See, all of these are free. I did not pay for any of these sounds. So just go to spitfire.com, look for the free stuff. So soft piano right here. That's what we're using. Oh, I think I just messed it up a little bit. All right. Anyway, that's what we're using for that one. And this track, just so you know, was approved by Music Library. It's, I've uploaded it. So it's for a show called, it's hosted by Danny Trejo, Unearthed Mysteries or something like that is what it's called. So it's a new one that I'm working on. All right. And then next, to start with the intro. So I have the A and B section. For this section, the intro, let's listen to that real quick, just the very beginning. It's just 2 bars. And it's just 3 sounds. So we have a drone, we have a low string, and we have an atmosphere. So drone, this one is in my contact library. I don't actually remember what the sound, so I'm bringing it up real quick. Here we go. Oh, dystropia. So I got this from Heaviosity. Let's listen to it by itself. Hold on. And it was just one of the presets that came with it. I used the sustain preset. If you ever use this type of library in like with Heaviosity or oh, what's the other one? Orange Tree or oh, there's another one I use all the time. But anyway, in order to change the note, this red section on the left part, that's how it by default it's at -1. I had to raise this up 2 semitones to make it the right note for the root for the D, um, to play this one. But Dystropia, and yeah, Ray, this is FL Studio. Low string, guess where I got this from? Free Labs. So I think I did. Hold on, low string. Yeah, this is FL Studio, Ray. Yep, so this is just Labs again. It's a sound called strings. This one. And I just use long strings. I use that for most of the like low, long bass string sounds. There's an ensemble, there's a short strings, which I think I use later. Strings 2 has all of your pizzicatos and a swell ensemble as well. Free, good price. Omnisphere, I don't know if I used it on this track, but, Allison, I use it all the time. Omnisphere, especially if they need, like, a technology track where they need computer blips. I use it for that one. And they've got a ton of great bell sounds and things like that. Let's see. Oh, I did use Omnisphere on here. So when we get down to that, I'll show you which sound I used for that one. But yeah, Omnisphere is huge. I use that all the time. Atmos, I think I used for atmosphere Saffron, I believe, which is like I got it at a Black Friday sale, which was like I think I got it for $29. Anytime I need like this type of sound where it's orchestral, but it has some synth elements and you just need some atmosphere, Saffron is a great choice for that. All right. And then with any track, you want to add something that's unique to the track. And normally, what I went with in this one was, I call it the hunt. So in this unearthed mysteries, they go and they dig things up and learn about the past and that type of stuff. So I thought maybe some tribal flutes and things like that might work. So I went with this one to give the track a little bit of character. Zimzada says she finds that the key of D minor is common with composing minimal tension. Oh, interesting. It might be a frequency thing. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, saffron is amazing seasoning. Yep, Ray. But I went with this one, and I use a library. Well, not a library. Well, maybe I did use a library. No, I used Arcade for this one. So this is Output Arcade. Let me bring this up real quick, and I use something called Particles Spirit Summoning, and that's where I've got these sounds from. For anybody that's not familiar with Arcade, I'll show you this real quick. 'Cause, it's a plugin I go to all the time because it's not the highest quality because it is a, rompler. If you know what a rompler is, basically they use samples. So if the tempo is too slow or too fast, sometimes you get that weird, I don't know, like, distortion in the sample where it doesn't sound quite right. So you have to use the right tempo range when you're using this. But what's good about this is they have almost every instrument you can think of. It may not be the best quality, but you will find it, right? If you're just like, I don't know where to find this type of sound, 9 times out of 10, Arcade will have it. It's subscription based. I think it's like $100 a year, something like that. But I have used this again and again and again. So they have lines. They have like pre-made where other people play things. But what I mostly use it for is the instrument. So you can change it to instrument mode. And if you put, let's say I put flute in, right? Or actually, flute's a button right here. You hit flute, and it'll bring like all the different types of flutes that you might want to use, right? Ton of sounds. Just if you're like, I need a library where I can find almost any sound, this is your guy. Oh yeah, Aaron says Arcade is fun to play around with for inspiration. Yeah, that too. Yep. Okay. Oh, we have a few people on Arcade. All right, cool. Awesome. Yeah, Tim says it saved him from some projects. Okay, well that's where I found this sound. This flute sound. And then let's listen to this percussion real quick. I wanted to have kind of a tribal sound, right? Something that goes with the flutes, something that's, a little bit native sounding. I think this one's Arcade too. I use Arcade a lot for percussions. They have a great library called Instead of Hi-Hats, and they have another one called Extra Perks and things like that. Let's see which one we use for this one. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. Give me one sec. No, this is the flute. Hold on. Oh, it's particles, but this one's Senjun Peak is what this one's called. So if you go to the piano roll in FL Studio, you can hear all of the different instruments, right? But for this one, I just took the percussion out of this, and a cool thing about this plugin is you can go down here and you can actually align it to the key that you're in, and that's how you can have tonal percussions but still be in the key. Alright, hold on. Simzada, that's a great note. I think that's about the D minor thing, yeah. Alright. Is there a specific tempo range that's recommended? Oh, okay, Tim. Um, I've gotten it seems like there's, like, 2 or 3 that I see coming up all the time. So when you do your research, when you go into, APM's library, Warner Chappell, Brand X, whatever your favorite music library is, you look up this type of music, 90, like, somewhere 90 or low 90s, that comes up a lot. 120 comes up a lot, and even, like a 140 or a 70, depending on if it's halftime or whatever, or double time. Um, those are the ones I see the most, but, have a feel for your track. You're gonna listen to the track and you're gonna know if it's too fast or too slow, but those are some good ones to start with. This one's at 86, so I made this a little bit slower than that 90 range, but it seemed to work better with this type of, like, slow intro and like, jungle feel to it. Alright, so this is the percussion under it. One thing you'll get notes on if you try to add real kicks, real snares, hi-hats, things like that you might use in your hip hop production, they may come back and say, "Hey, could you lighten up that production, make it lighter?" You don't have to really side chain it to the bass or anything like that. Like, these types of tracks aren't you don't need anything to punch through. You just need some light percussion. Yeah, no worries, Tim. So, and you may add some cinematic toms or something like that, but you don't really need any. And if you put a kick in, you're going to want to put it like a soft and as kind of an underneath thing. All right. Then, um, this distant hit, right? So let's hear the transition. Let's hear it go into the first part when these percussions come in, right? Guess where I got this distant hit from? Well, let's listen to it. You guessed it, probably arcade. Let's take a look. Oh, no, it wasn't. I thought it was gonna be arcade. Rise and hit. Alright. So if you've watched a Clint tutorial, you've probably seen him use rise and hit, and I just used the hit part of Deep Thunder as my hit. Rise and hit, I think I got this on Black Friday sale for like 40 bucks. I use this all the time, especially for like reverse cymbals or cymbal rolls and timpani rolls and things like that. But whatever transition you can think of, Rise and Hit's probably going to be able to do it. All right. What we got? I can't see who's saying that. Oh, Keith. Silver recommended my Michael Connor would be a great percussion tool for these as well. Yeah. There's like Action Strike. Um, what's that other one? Damage 2. Those are some popular ones, but Rise and Hit's great for transitions. Yep. Yep, produced by Janie B. She's like, you're not telling anybody anything we don't know. All right, and then here's another little transition sound here. It's just a whoosh. Right? Just this little guy. I got that from a sample pack. So, from Ghost Hack. So they have a lot of really low cost, if you're on Splice, you'll find all of this in Splice as well if you do a Splice subscription, but I think I got this from a sample pack. They had like a cinematic percussion one. Let me find it here. Ghost Hack. Here we go. Yeah. So they have loops and then they have where's the one shots? Here's the one shots. So they have a lot of great sounds in here, especially the layered hits. So if you needed to add a little percussion to the end to drive it home, But for this one, the whooshes are under the SFX section, and they got a million to choose from. So I just went with one of them to bring in the next section. I normally like to use at least 2 or 3 different types of transitions to make it interesting. You don't want to use the same transition into every section because it may get a little boring for the listener. All right. And then let's go to the lead sound here. Right? So that's this nylon guitar. I think it's a lyre though. I'm not a liar. That's just the name of the instrument. Okay, I got this from Contact. A lot of the time I use Flex for this, so I'm surprised. Maybe I'm on the wrong one. Hold on. Oh, this is Omnisphere. So here's where the Omnisphere is, Allison. So Omnisphere, man. Ah, so many great sounds for this. For just tension music in general. I'm sure Tim would tell you the same. And I just have Omnisphere 2. I haven't upgraded, just on 2. I used a sound called King David's Lyre. There we go. And I normally use kind of a plucky sound, so it sounds like a real player is playing it as close as possible, and it worked really well for this track. All right. Now let's go to the next transition. Oh, hold on. Let me turn on all the sounds. So for this one, I just used 3 sounds. So listening to the end of the A section. We low piano. Low piano I use all the time. Just the root note. You can see it here again at the sting. This reverse signal came from that. I think it's from that same Ghost Hack pack. So I just used a transition sound, a riser, and then this drop. All right, so I know this came from Arcade because if you listen to it, you hear that phasing, that weird like phasing sound. That's because it's a rompler and it's using a sampler, and this tempo 86 probably is not the ideal range for that sound. It's masked by the other 2 sounds, so I kinda got away with it here. But it's not ideal, right? But some kind of drop sound. This is the break in the song that gives the listener a break and introduces the next section. One other thing that I got away with in this one that, I normally don't like to, hold on, is you're gonna hear the percussion, hear that delay on the percussion. It's gonna go into this drop, and we should cut that off. We shouldn't let that go. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. You can still hear these perks. That. So we want to cut that off and then just bring it back here. So you can see at the end I cut it off, but I didn't cut it off to introduce the next section. This little volume automation here. I don't if you're an FL Studio user, I could show you how to do it real quick. So you just go to the mixer and you're going to right click, insert or create automation clip. So I right clicked on the fader, on the actual fader. Okay. And then you just copy the value of the whatever volume you're at. And then you right click here and you right click here and you right click again. And what we're doing is We're gonna just cut the volume out and then bring it back here. And I'm right clicking here to paste the same value, so it's gonna be at the same volume. There we go. So now this will cut off. All right. So now we're bringing in all of the instruments and we're gonna ramp up the tension a little bit. For this one, you can see I used a perk loop. This is from that Ghost Hack pack. I think because I just bought it that day is why I'm using that one so much, right? So here's the cinematic drum loop, right? I tend to add a little bit of reverb. I add a little bit of reverb to those drums to make them sound distant. And then we bring in our pulsing bass. So we haven't had a pulsing bass yet, and you can see it's just riding the root note. Now for this one, I think I used Unisynth. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with this plugin, but here's the sound that it came up with. Let me open a new instance of it real quick just to show you this plugin because I use this one all the time as well because it saves you from having to search and search and search, especially in like a tool like Omnisphere where, you have to put in keywords and look at all the different libraries and sections and all of that. So let's say we're looking for a bass sound, right? We probably want to make it a cinematic orchestral. So we're going to choose that as the genre. We're going to change it to bass. All right. You hit the button and it generates a bass sound. That's wrong. We want it more dead and, try again. You just keep going through until you hit something that's appropriate. It's not really giving us anything that's close though. All right. So another thing you can do though is you can save presets as well though. Like I have a dull bass loaded now. Right? These are better sounds. But you can hit the button until you find the right sound. You can always change your genres and all of that. I use this for bass almost every time. And it just makes it faster and easier to find stuff. And then you can save the basses that you like. Yeah, yeah, Keith. Yeah, this Unisynth is crazy. Like it saves me time to find the right sound, to tell you the truth. It's more of a time saver than anything. All right. So that's that one. We have an impact sound here to kick off the new section. This one's on Serum. I use this one all the time. I know that sound already. So, and I got this from, I have it on Serum. I don't have Serum 2, just Serum. And I got it from Splice a long time ago. It's just called Serum Effects Impact, right? Serum's also another great tool that's so versatile and flexible. Okay. So here, what else did we add? We added some low short strings. This is labs again. So the short strings I was showing you earlier. So if you hit strings, you got ensemble long and short. So we went with short for that. That's pretty much it. I've added some long strings. I normally add strings towards the end of the track, especially high strings with dissonance. I don't really have it on this one, but like I'll show you what I mean. A lot of the time when you need to add more tension to the end of your track and you need to like really ramp it up, if you basically play the highest strings that you can and you play like play just half tones. That dissonance, that right there. I mean, it's not part of this track, but I just kind of raise those up and I just put them a half step apart to add that dissonance to the end. If you need to like really ramp it up towards the end of your track to build tension. All right, we added another perk sound. I use perks with echoes a lot. You use that a lot in this type of music, and then finally a bell sound. I'm pretty sure this is going to be from. Oh, it's from Arcade. All right, I used dark pop on this one. Looks like I used an actual pack instead of just an instrument. Oh, thanks, Tim. All right, I think that's all of the instruments. And then we just did the whoosh and the sting ending, and we played a low piano. We have low strings. The bass, we just, made a long tone out of that, and we brought the distant hit back. All right. I've talked a lot. I went through the entire track. If anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat. Um, the big takeaway is you can see it doesn't take a lot of instruments. The melodies need to be simple. Sometimes you'll put a counter melody in, right? Like this lead lyre sound that I used. You may have something to complement it. Some little. I'm singing it, but it'd probably be like a soft piano or something like that. You may want to add a counter melody. Sometimes they like a call and response or something back and forth. Thanks, Davey Dave. Appreciate it. Thanks, Tim. All right. I'm not seeing a lot of questions. I think everything's pretty clear. These are just some of the libraries, some of the sounds, right? But that's each instrument plays its part. I guess I'll go ahead and wrap it up then. I there's a link to this guide in the description on YouTube. I'm going to go into the Sync Producer Hub as well and share that guide if anybody's interested. For anybody out there that wants to get, oh wait, there is one question. So, how long does it take you to create a track like this? That's a great question, Allison. It depends on how much energy I have. Sometimes it takes a while when I'm like tired, but when I started, it took me probably a good like 6 or 7 hours to figure all of this out because I was still figuring things out. But now I think I've got it to about 2 hours with mixing and everything. I have templates and just makes it a lot faster. So yeah, about 2 hours if I'm full of energy and I can really concentrate and nobody's interrupting me and things like that. But I've done over 150 of these tracks. So, the more reps, the faster you get. What do the briefs look like? For these, actually, they're actually here, let me bring one up. I might be able to bring one from 21 South. So give me 1 second here. I'm gonna go to my Gmail. For the first library I worked with, I don't even know if they had a brief. It was more like, can you make music like this? And they sent me examples. I went off of that. Here, let me look. Mysteries Unearthed. That's the name of it. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I think this is the brief. So this brief is just an email, right? That says, please send your first, please to send you your first brief. You upload demos, whatever. Okay. So, we want to refresh their bins with new cues. Some of the key styles, including resolution moments throughout each episode. These can range from either big and upbeat moments in episodes where momentum is building around mystery to its eventual solving, to more neutral, melancholy moments in episodes where the mystery is unsolved, leaving more questions answered. I've been mostly making this second type for them. I think I'll add a few more bigger ones. This is the reason I started with those. Let's start with cues for neutral resolution moments where questions remain or new ones emerge. check out these selects from season 2 lead editor, that they sent them, and light suspense, mystery, and intrigue. So there wasn't a ton to go off of, but if they sent me a disco link with 6 examples, and when I first created it, I chose the same tempo I as these, right? And if they don't list the tempo, you can always use a tool like Tap Tempo online, right? Tap Tempo, uh, like this one, right? Tap, 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 and it'll give you whatever the nearest tempo is. But I chose different keys so it would sound different, but I included some of their elements, right? Like what was their sound selection? What is the vibe of the song? What mood are they going for? How much of a climax is there? Where are their breaks? What is their formatting? And I just asked all of those questions before I got started. And I kind of went one by one. So I same tempo as each one of these. And then tried to kind of capture the same vibe with it. All right. What does Tim say? Can I use this track to pitch for my own library? Not this particular one, Tim, but if you want me to make you a track, I'd be happy to. This one's spoken for and in their library already. All right. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you everybody for popping in. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick. Oh, hold up. I hit the wrong button. Let's see. Stop sharing. All right, cool. So thank you everybody for popping in. We appreciate it. Oh wait, oh sorry, there's one more question from Ray. Real quick. So you're using Claude, which paid tier, and what are you having Claude to do for your music composing and business admin? There's actually a post in the hub about that. Like there's 3 main tools that I use. Well actually 4. So sync licensing song description generator. I use that one all the time for especially for this one library where they have a 450 character limit, so it just gets all the keywords. I put in basically the title of the song, the mood, the instruments, and what it's for, and it just creates it for me. Um, and then for like this content generation, like YouTube and things like that, I use a script generator. So if I'm doing a YouTube video, it kind of gives me the bullet points of the script I'm going to use. And then the optimizer puts in the description, creates a prompt to create images like for the thumbnails. And what else does it do? It gives me my pinned post, like the first pinned post, things like that, right? Admin stuff. I'm not using it to create stems or anything like that. I have a system that's pretty efficient and pretty quick. So, and I want to make sure it's right. You definitely don't want to deliver to a library and have it come in wrong, right? So, hope that answers your question. Um, all right, cool. So let's wrap it up then. Thank you so much for coming. For anybody out there who is not in the Sync Producer Hub and you're watching this video and you're like, I want to get my music into TV and film, um, make sure that you join the Sync Producer Hub. There's a link in the description. You can check it out. It was started by Anthony Clint Jr., and it's the exact program that I followed to get that, 130 whatever placements on all those TV shows. Royalty checks have gone from pennies to dollars, right? This really starting to come in. It's starting to snowball. So if you have music that's just not doing anything for you, it's not earning you that passive income that'll get you paid again and again. Come check us out. We'd love to see you in the hub. All right, awesome. So, oh, what's up, Kenneth, Janie HB, Sound Mystic? What's happening, Ray, Aaron, Zimzada? Have a good night. Thank you so much for coming in. I hope this has been helpful to you. Peace out.